Years ago, I chose this psalm. Psalm 71 is my declaration for a year. I got so hooked on it, it was my declaration for 3 years. I will always have hope. I love the movement in this psalm that from the moment I was born, God, you filled me with hope. I'm a hopeful girl. I love the word hope. I love the meaning of that word, meaning looking forward to a bright future. I love hope. I love the way it ended for this season of my life, the way Psalm 71 ended. Even when I'm old and gray, Father, don't remove your hope. Even when I'm old and gray, don't take it away. Let your splendor still be known so I can declare it to the generations to come. I love hope. January 2010. We were filled with hope in our home. We had just finished a fabulous Christmas season. 3 children, all in ministry. Ginnys, our firstborn, Josh, Jonathan. Ginny was involved in an international children's ministry. Josh was serving a church in Memphis, doing a great work. Jonathan was the worship minister at Bamel Road. And all of our children married kids that we really like. I taught my children, you marry somebody I like, and you marry somebody sold out to Jesus, and your life will be happy forever. And they believed me. They all married people that we adore. January 2010, 5 grandchildren that we absolutely adore. We stood in our kitchen repetitively in that January saying something like, come on, does it get better than this? I love my life, is what I used to say with great enthusiasm morning and night. I still say it now, but I'm a little hedgy on some pieces because the calendar rolled over to February 2010. On February 1st, Ginny, a boot camp girl, very strong physically, was diagnosed with the swine flu. It was epidemic in DFW at that time. Ginny and David, her daughter Malaya, who is now a sophomore here at this school, lived in Keller. Ginny didn't get better on Tuesday. She didn't get better on Wednesday. But my mama had always taught me, you got to give it 3 days, and so we did. I woke up Thursday morning with a text from my son-in-law telling me they were in a doctor's office waiting for the doctor to get there because Ginny did not sleep that night and she was not doing well. Before I could get to the doctor's office in Southlake, they were already on their way to Baylor Grapevine, where the doctor had told us Ginny was dehydrated. I walked in the waiting room, went back to the emergency room. Rick, my husband, got Malaya out of the room immediately because of the terror in her eyes. And then a doctor put Ginny's lungs up, x-rays of Ginny's lungs up, turned around and looked at David and me and said, we've got a 60-40 chance. I looked at David, I was so confused, and I said, a 60-40 chance of what? And that doctor turned back around and she said, with so much kindness, but so much firmness, she said, of life. Your daughter is really sick. They put her not only in intensive care, but in isolation in intensive care because we didn't know what was wrong. Within hours, we found out Ginny never had the flu at all. She had group A strep and had gone without an antibiotic. And we've heard it said it was like a cancer on steroids. She was septic, organ failure. That night, Shannon was our nurse. David and I stayed in Ginny's room all night. I never went home during this hospital stay. And we kept asking Shannon, Shannon, is there hope? And every time I asked that, Shannon responded with this, yes, there's hope. She's my friend now, and we call her the thumbs up girl. She even gave me a little plaque of her doing a thumbs up because those first few nights, is there hope, Shannon? Yes, there's hope. Ginny held fairly firm those first few days. On February 8th, she almost died 3 times. On February 7th, our family gathered and we made the really hard decision to amputate her legs, filled with hope that if we amputated her legs, we could still have her heart. Filled with hope. On February 20th, seizures started. Dr. Lester, our hospitalist, met with us. And he said, but don't give up hope. And I said, I'm not. You don't have to tell this girl that. I'm not giving up hope. No way. February 22nd, infectious disease doctor came in and he said, we're going to change a medicine. Don't give up hope. I'm quoting Psalm 71 to that doctor saying, I am not giving up hope. I am filled with hope. We're going to take Ginny home. He said, yeah, we're going to figure this out. Within an hour, I'm in the waiting room. I stand up to hug a friend, and there was a magnetic pull in my heart to get back to Ginny. And when I rounded the corner, the nurse said, Ginny is plummeted. And they were taking her for a brain scan. The best way I can describe that moment is it felt like there was something dark that had put a hand over my nose and my mouth, and I couldn't get a breath. I couldn't get a breath of hope. And since that day, February 22nd, 2010, I confess to you right now, I still read Psalm 71, but it is not with ease. I am in a fight to maintain what I want spiritually. I love the song we just did. I still have joy. Why, yes, I do. I still have peace. Why, yes, I do. I still have hope. Why, yes, I do. But it is not easy anymore. And this is where I invite you into my story, because I stand before you right now convinced, 100% convinced, that death is absolutely not the only suffocating of hope event. Somebody say truth. That's right. There are a lot of things in our life that make us feel void of hope. If we were together for hours right now, what I would do is get you to tell me, what are those events? Some of the most popular ones, no. Some of the most frequent ones I hear, there's nothing popular about these. Usually the first one that tracks up is divorce. Your own or someone else's. That's hard. Broken relationships. Maybe not getting the job you want. Maybe not having the life partner that you wanted. A breakup before marriage even got started. Infertility, as Ginny struggled with secondary infertility. Job loss. What if you're not at the church you want to be at? What if it's your own sin? If you've done something really, really dark and you're struggling, how do I get back up? Well, that's a good question. How do we get back up when you can't find a breath of hope? You see, Ginny was not only my daughter, she's one of my teachers. I'm very, very grateful that I have 3 kids that I sit at their feet often, and I learned from them. And Ginny's favorite life verse, which is now mine, is Romans 15:13. It's on her headstone. I repeat it at the end of every session, counseling session. I repeat it at the end of every group. It hangs on most of the walls at Wise County Christian Counseling, and that verse says this: may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, in my old journals and even some in my current, I've ripped that verse apart. Let's get serious for just a minute about this. How do you have joy after the lights have gone out? How do we stand up and declare, I still have joy? How do we stand up and declare, I still have peace? Joy. I am a major fan of Dr. Brene Brown. I'm certified in everything I can find to be certified of hers. I teach her classes. I facilitate workshops. I love her work. She quotes in Daring Greatly from Laura Williamson's book, where Laura Williamson says this: comparison is the thief of all joy. So we have to get serious about what we're going to do about comparison, about you have this and I want it, or I'm better than you and I have this. Listen to me clearly. Comparison helps no one. Somebody say truth. Isn't that right? But listen to this. Comparison especially does not have room when it comes to suffering. I've had people walk up to me and say, oh, I can't talk to you about my pain because you've had the worst. And I go, how is that helpful? And I don't even think I have had the worst. I think we walk arm in arm. That's the whole point of helping each other breathe and contain ourselves in faith. We walk together saying, I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to lay on the ground with you while we figure this out. Direction is everything. Joy, Dr. Brown says, is the most foreboding of all the emotions, meaning joy is scary. I even said at the beginning, I once said, does life get better than this? I love my life. Rick and I had to make a deal the other day. We can still say that. And we don't have to say anymore, except for that one chapter. I hate that chapter. Let's just let that be known between us. We hate that. But we can still love where we are today. We give ourselves permission to show up in that. Dr. Brown says this is not Christian research. This is with all people. Listen to me, my friends, and if you were in my office right now, what I would want to do is lean across my office. I would want to take your hands in mine because this is that important. 100% of the people polled that say they have joy, guess what they do? They have a gratitude practice. And it's not the kind of gratitude that you're just grateful the waitress brought you a glass of tea. They are looking for the Lord's hand in their life all day long. Tonight, I'm going to have to wrestle with what to put in my gratitude journal. Every day, I put 3 to 5 things in there. It could be sitting right there while these people were leading those songs in worship. That will be in my gratitude journal tonight. It could be that while I sit right there on the front row, right behind me is a pastor that I love and a son pastor that I adore that flew in here today just to be with me for this 25 minutes. I'm so grateful. My husband traveled. And for Malaya right there, you see, when we left the hospital on February 22nd, 2010, I thought we were going to tell a 9-year-old something that was going to destroy her life. Has her way been hard? Oh, yeah. It's been hard. But is she figuring it out? Oh, yeah. She's figuring some things out. Because of the Lord. Gratitude is serious business. You cannot, the human brain, it is impossible for the human brain to experience 2 conflicting emotions at the same time. You can't do it. You cannot experience anxiety and joy. You cannot experience anxiety and gratitude. Those are in conflict. But catch this, what you can experience together, this is truth, what you can experience together are grief and joy. And that hangs in, when I walk out of my office to go get my clients and I open my door, that is in big letters right there. Now, when I first said that quote, it was joy and grief can hold hands. Then when I saw it on the wall, I'm like, no, we got to flip it because I want the capital J to be capital on purpose. So now outside, it says grief and joy with a capital J can hold hands because my joy is found in my Jesus. My joy has a capital J because he has a name. It's Jesus. Grief and joy can hold hands. Now, I was asked recently, is that inauthentic? Is that really true? Listen, friends, grief and joy can hold hands because of this. They are both rooted in love. You're not going to grieve what you don't love. Grief has its roots in love. And joy's root is what? Love. They're together. They go together. I decided after one of my daughter-in-laws said, weeks after Ginnys' death, you going to be bitter? Good question. Because I sure could be. Good question. And I looked at her and I said, absolutely not. Because you see what that beautiful young woman was asking me is there still going to be laughter in this house with Ginny gone? At Christmas, are you still going to play with my kids? Are you still going to put my kids to bed tonight with tickles and back rubs and fun stories? Yep, sure am. I'm going to fight for it. I'm not going to be bitter. The way out of bitterness is gratitude and joy. And now if we move into peace, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace. A few weeks after Ginnys' death, I was on my back porch, and I couldn't read the whole time Ginny was in the hospital. I'm an avid reader. I took a backpack filled with books. I was supposed to do 3 marriage events that February all by myself. Couldn't read one word. But about 8 weeks after her death, I went to my back porch, and I'd grabbed that thick Bible, Eugene Peterson's work, and I was going to read through Job. Now, I confess to you, Job and I'd never been really good friends before. But here I wanted to know, Job, you got a word for me. And I got to the end of Job 3, and it says something like this: the worst of my fears has come true. What I've dreaded most has happened. There's no rest. There's no peace. Death has invaded life. And I closed that big book with a thud, and I cried out to the Lord, that is absolutely right, God. I have just spent the last 8 weeks without one even glimpse of peace. And I agree with Job. And the Lord spoke into my heart. When I say that, sometimes people say, was it a male voice? It was not a male voice. There was a deep settling in my soul, and I know it was the Lord. And he said to me, my daughter, that was Job speaking from his place of pain, you, as a baptized believer, you are Holy Spirit filled. And where my spirit is, there will be peace. Open the eyes of your heart that you don't miss one glimpse of peace. And so then my prayer became, God, open the eyes of my heart that I see your peace. I find my peace in knowing God's presence. Now, frequently, I've been in enough churches, and I'm not picking on anybody's church, but I'm confessing to you here, somebody, it's usually the worship minister, will say something like, don't you just feel the presence of the Lord in the room today? And I've been sitting there and I want to go, no, not so much. Don't feel him. But let me tell you something. That's not that important. The important part is that you know he is in this place today, whether you feel him or you don't. That's what's important. God is in this place. And where the presence of the Lord is, we can breathe in his peace. I frequently have grievers ask me, my practice is mostly marriage and grief. I saw a butterfly today. And they'll say, that was my daughter, reminding me that she sees me. Or I saw a rainbow. That was my daughter. Or I saw a cardinal. That was my husband. If you disagree with what I'm about to say, don't talk about it in the bathroom in case I'm in the stall next to you. But listen to me with this. I don't believe that Ginny is in the form of a cardinal or a butterfly or a rainbow. I believe that's the Holy Spirit of the Lord, reminding me that he sees me, reminding me that he's got me, reminding me he knows my pain, reminding me that creation is bigger than my little story, reminding me that I'm leaning hard into a story that's bigger than my own. I'm leaning into the story of the Lord that he wants to weave through this quilt, and my story does not end at my death, just like Ginny's didn't end at hers. Her story continues. Our stories continue. Peace is found in the presence of the Lord. I've not had a whole day full of peace since Ginny died, but I've not had a peaceless day since that day 8 weeks after her death either. Because I pray that the eyes of my heart are continually opened to him. You see, what pain makes us want to do is keep our hands like this. I'm talking about the hands of my heart, like this. And what we've got to do is the spiritual discipline of this. We have to get really brave and say, Lord, I want to receive your joy. I want to receive your peace. And how do we do that? It's through trust. While Ginny was in the hospital, repetitively after, A year ago, right now, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it started up again with my cancer diagnosis. People would write on cards, they would shoot me texts. I'm not being critical, I'm very grateful for friends. You just need to trust God. Yep. You just need to trust God. Now, my daddy was a new Christian when I was born. And my daddy taught me that I could ask him anything because his answers weren't in a box. He said, you can ask me anything, but you better watch your sassy little tone, because I can be sassy. And I took that into prayer. And I was like, God, I got to ask you something really hard. And you know my heart is pure before you. I do not mean to say this with sass. God, it's going to sound sassy, but I got to know this. Trust you for what? You see, if you sat in this room today as a college student, you're not going to trust him that you're going to graduate with the highest of honors and the degree you want from this school, and you didn't study a bit. Somebody say truth. You aren't going to trust him that you're going to leave here with the life mate, and your life mate's one aim in life is to make you happy and bless you for as long as your feet walk on dirt. And that you trust the Lord and you're going to have the perfect number of children. You trust the Lord and you're going to be at a church, if you're a pastor or minister, that is the perfect fit for you. You trust God and you will get the desire of your heart, meaning all the things you want. That's not what Scripture says. I cried out to the Lord that day on my porch, and he met me there and he said, you trust me, my daughter. You trust me that I am in it all. You trust me to be who I said I was going to be. You trust me for my character. I see you. I love you. I will never walk away. You trust me to be who I said I am. I'm afraid for our language sometimes. I'm afraid that our language has destroyed people's faith when we teach them that we trust God to get our way. I love the words of Jesus in Luke 22, where he's talking to Peter and he says, Simon, Simon, Satan's asked permission to sift you, plural, like wheat. But I've prayed for you, Simon, that your faith won't fail. And when you get back up, you go strengthen your brothers. Jesus didn't pray that Simon wouldn't be persecuted. He didn't pray that Simon wouldn't be beat. He didn't pray for happy life. He prayed for his faith. That is the most important thing about us, is our faith. And so let's move back into where we started, and that's with the word hope. Right after Ginny died, my husband is a preacher. And I traveled with him that summer, next couple of summers, and every time he went somewhere, he preached from Luke 24, the road to Emmaus. I heard him preach that sermon probably a dozen times, maybe more. And I never didn't have a pen out, because in Luke 24, I heard repetitively words that soothed my soul. It was this couple walking the road, mourning the death of Jesus. And it says they were talking about everything that happened. What do you think? What do you think? Where was Peter? I don't know. Where do you think he was? That's what grieving people do. We go over the facts over and over and over again. What do you think? Did you see Jesus when he looked at John and said, take care of my mom? Did you see John, the way he looked at Mary and the way Mary was looking at Jesus and the way Mary then received John? And could you believe when Jesus said, could you believe when the Roman soldiers did that? And then all of a sudden this man, who we know is Jesus, but they don't, walk up and they say to him, what are you talking about? And that's like I felt walking in Walmart after Ginny died. This is how I felt walking in Walmart after Ginny. I wanted to go, how are you people shopping? Do you not know Ginny died? And they look at this man. They don't know it's Jesus. They look at him and go, where have you been? Do you not know? Do you not know what's happened today? And he's like, tell me. I picture them right here. I don't know if this is true. I picture them holding their hands like this and going, oh, we had hoped, we had hoped, we had hoped. He was the one. We had hoped he was going to redeem us. We had hoped that the Roman soldiers would be silenced because of him. We had hoped we would have good life now. And Jesus keeps walking. And then all of a sudden they figure it out at dinner. They've been walking with the resurrected Messiah. How many of us, I'll just do me, got so caught up. This isn't going to roll off my tongue very well, but I want to say this to you. How many of us got so caught up in our lowercase h hope that we missed the capital H hope? Peter calls him, you are the living hope, Jesus. Paul calls him, you're the hope of glory. Our hope is built on nothing less than Jesus. Than Jesus. We know the end of the story. But there was a day that I doubted the end of the story. Oh, February 22nd, we're walking out of Ginnys' room for the very last time. We told her goodbye 3 different times. This was going to be it. It was just me, Rick, and David. David was right in front of us. What I wanted to do is grab Rick's shirt like that, but I didn't. I just put my hands on his chest. And I said, you've got to remind me that what we believe is truth. And Rick looked at me and said, the tomb is empty. And in a few minutes from this, if I go into darkness, if I should have a doubt, which faith is not faith, if there's not a doubt. If I should have a doubt, I have friends, I have family, I have people that pour into me, and all I have to shoot is a text that says, remind me. And those people who love me will write back immediately, and they will say to me, the tomb is empty. Because they know that that is the hope that fills my lungs, my spiritual lungs. They know that that is the hope that gives me the strength, the emotional energy, the spiritual energy to continue to carry my pain. Somewhere in Israel, there is an empty tomb. Our first time we were there, our guide kept talking about the traditional site. Finally, I went over to him and I said, Anton, is this the tomb of Jesus or not? And he looked down at the ground and he said, we don't know. He wasn't there long enough. And I love that answer, that somewhere in Israel, there is an empty tomb. And because that tomb is empty, one day, ours will be too. And the way we walk out, life, while our feet walk on dirt, it matters in the heavenly realms. As for me, I will always have hope. Because I will always have Jesus.